Welcome to our deep dive into mind uploading. We're going to be exploring what it is, if it's even possible, and some of the philosophical questions it raises. It's a pretty wild concept, right?
Definitely. It really captures the imagination.
Yeah. So, imagine a future where we can transfer, human consciousness into a computer.
It's a concept that's been around for a while, like in science fiction and stuff,
Totally. But now, people are actually, seriously thinking about how to make it happen.
Yeah. So maybe we should start by, defining what exactly mind uploading is.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good place to start. What is it?
Well, it's also known as whole brain emulation. And basically, it's the theoretical process of scanning and mapping the structure and information processing of a biological brain.
Okay.
And then creating a simulation of that brain in a non-biological substrate, like, say, a computer.
So basically, copying your brain onto a computer.
In a way, yeah. But it's way more complex than just copying files.
Yeah, I bet. The brain is, incredibly complex.
It is. The human brain contains billions of neurons connected by trillions of synapses.
Wow.
To create a faithful simulation, you'd need to map all of these connections and understand how they interact to produce, thoughts, feelings, behaviors, all of that.
That sounds incredibly difficult.
It is, and that brings up the big question: is it even possible?
Good question.
We don't have the technology to do it yet, and some scientists believe it may never be possible.
Really?
Yeah, but others believe it's, just a matter of time before we overcome the technical challenges.
Okay, so even if we could figure out how to map the brain, there's still no guarantee that we can transfer consciousness.
Right.
Right. Tricky. But let's just assume for a moment that it is possible. What are some of the philosophical questions that mind uploading raises?
Well, one of the most fundamental questions is whether a digital copy of a mind would, truly be the same person as the original. Would it have the same consciousness, the same memories, the same sense of self?
Yeah, would it actually be you or just a copy of you?
Exactly. It's a tough question, and it gets at the heart of what we mean by person and identity.
So, we usually think of our minds as being inseparable from our bodies.
Yeah.
But if we can transfer our minds to a computer,
Yeah.
it kind of suggests that our minds aren't physical things after all.
Right. And that has huge implications for how we understand ourselves.
Absolutely. So what would it mean for our sense of identity if, we could exist as digital beings?
That's another big question. I mean, if we could create multiple copies of our minds, would each copy be a separate individual?
Oh, wow.
And would they all have, the same rights and responsibilities as the original?
It sounds like mind uploading could, totally change how we think about, what it means to be human.
Absolutely. It forces us to confront some of the deepest questions about the nature of consciousness, identity, personhood, all that good stuff.
All right. Well, let's dive into some maybe thought experiments that explore these questions, right?
Sounds good.
One classic one is the Ship of Theseus. Have you heard of that one?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's a classic.
Okay, cool. So, for those who haven't, imagine a ship that over time has all its parts gradually replaced.
Like every plank, every sail, every mast, everything.
Right. So the question is, if every single part is replaced, is it still the same ship?
Yeah, that's the big question. At what point does it become a different ship?
It's it's kind of tricky. I guess it depends on how you define same, right?
Exactly. That's the whole point of the thought experiment. It makes us think about what makes something what it is. What is the essence of a thing?
Right.
And if we apply this to the human brain, it raises questions about whether, a digital reconstruction of a brain would truly be the same individual as the original.
So would a mind upload be like the Ship of Theseus then?
Yeah.
With parts gradually replaced until it's not the same anymore?
That's one way to think about it. There are other thought experiments, too, that are relevant to mind uploading.
Okay, yeah, like what?
Like the swamp man paradox, for example.
What's that?
So imagine a bolt of lightning strikes a swamp, right? And just by pure chance, it rearranges the molecules to form a being identical to you.
Okay.
In every way, physically, mentally, everything. This swamp man looks like you, thinks like you, even has all your memories.
Whoa. That's That's a lot to take in.
But here's the thing. It came into existence without your history or experiences. So the question is this swamp man truly you, or is it a separate entity?
Wow, that's a real mind bender. It sounds like the swamp man is like a perfect copy.
Right.
But it doesn't have your past.
Exactly. The swamp man paradox challenges us to consider whether personal identity is solely determined by physical and mental states, or if a shared history and like a causal continuity are also essential.
Yeah. If your consciousness is like simply the product of, a certain arrangement of matter, then maybe the swamp man is you. But if identity is tied to your like unique experiences and like the journey that led you to this point, then maybe the swamp man, without that shared past, is a different being.
Precisely. It's a fascinating question. And there's another thought experiment that's often associated with mind uploading, too.
What's that?
The teletransportation paradox.
Oh, I think I've heard of that one. Isn't that like the transporter technology from Star Trek?
Yeah, exactly. The teletransportation paradox asks, if a person is dematerialized and then reconstructed in a different location, are they really the same individual or just a copy?
Yeah, that's a good one.
If the original person is totally destroyed during teleportation, is the reconstructed person like a continuation of their consciousness, or has the original been destroyed and replaced with like a duplicate?
Yeah, it's a fascinating question because it makes you wonder if the continuity of consciousness is actually enough to like guarantee the continuity of personal identity.
Right.
And this is like directly related to mind uploading too.
Absolutely. I mean, if we could scan and copy our brains into a computer, would the resulting, digital entity be us or just a copy?
Right. A very good question. All these thought experiments really make you think about like the nature of identity and what it means to be a person.
They do, and they highlight just how complex and challenging the philosophical implications of mind uploading really are.
Okay. Well, let's move on to another intriguing concept, open individualism. What is that all about?
So open individualism is a philosophical view that suggests there's like a single universal consciousness that experiences the world through all individual perspectives.
Okay.
It challenges the idea that each of us has a, separate and distinct self.
So are you saying that like instead of thinking of ourselves as separate individuals, we're all just like part of one big universal mind?
That's the basic idea. It suggests that the feeling of being a separate self is like an illusion.
But if that's true, why do we experience the world from our own like unique perspective? Why am I me and not you?
That is a question that philosophers call the vertiginous question. It's the question of like why we experience the world from this particular perspective and not, someone else's.
It's definitely a dizzying thought to consider.
It is. And while open individualism might seem like a radical idea, it's one that's been explored by philosophers and mystics for centuries, actually.
Okay, so how does open individualism relate to mind uploading?
Well, if open individualism is true, it would suggest that uploading our minds to a computer wouldn't actually create, a separate copy of ourselves.
Okay.
It would just be a transfer of like our perspective within the universal consciousness.
Whoa. That's a pretty profound implication.
It is. It means that even if we achieve like digital immortality, we wouldn't be escaping the, the fundamental interconnectedness of all things.
It's a lot to think about.
It is. All of these philosophical concepts are, incredibly thought-provoking.
Yeah, they really are.
And they demonstrate that mind uploading is much more than just a technological challenge.
Okay.
It's a philosophical journey that forces us to, confront our deepest assumptions about what it means to be human. Mind uploading just presents us with like this really fascinating array of philosophical puzzles. It really stretches our understanding of what it means to be human and what makes up personal identity.
Yeah, we've been talking about some thought experiments like the ship of Theseus, the swamp man paradox, the teletransportation paradox, all of those scenarios, they really make you think about the nature of identity and whether it's tied to our physical bodies or the continuity of our consciousness.
Exactly. And those thought experiments, they highlight the complexities of trying to define a person and what makes them unique. They also bring up, questions about what might happen to our sense of self if we were to, upload our minds to a computer. Would we still be the same individual or would we be copies?
Yeah, it's mind-boggling to think that like one day we might be able to exist as digital beings.
It is. The concept of mind uploading, it definitely raises, these profound questions about the future of humanity and the very nature existence.
And speaking of mind-bending concepts, we touched on open individualism a little bit earlier, and this idea proposes a single universal consciousness, like experiencing the world through all individual perspectives.
Yes. Open individualism kind of challenges our conventional understanding of, the self. It suggests that the feeling of being a separate and independent entity might be an illusion.
Yeah, it's a difficult concept to grasp, I think, because we're so accustomed to experiencing the world from our own individual point of view.
It is that vertiginous question, as philosophers call it, really highlights that challenge. Why are we experiencing the world from this specific perspective and not, someone else's? If there is a universal consciousness, why do we feel like distinct individuals?
Yeah, it's a question that has puzzled philosophers for centuries, and one that mind uploading brings to the forefront.
Indeed. Mind uploading kind of pushes us to consider the possibility that our individual consciousness might be part of a larger, interconnected whole.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. But I mean, all these philosophical discussions surrounding mind uploading are fascinating.
Yeah.
But they also highlight the potential ethical dilemmas this technology could create.
Absolutely. If mind uploading becomes a reality, we're going to have to grapple with a whole range of, ethical considerations like the rights and responsibilities of digital beings, the potential for consciousness manipulation, the implications for personal identity, all kinds of things.
Yeah, it's clear that mind uploading isn't just a scientific or technological endeavor. It's a philosophical exploration that challenges our fundamental understanding of ourselves and the universe we inhabit.
Precisely. It forces us to confront, profound questions about consciousness, identity, the very nature of reality.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've been exploring the mind-boggling philosophical implications of mind uploading.
We have. And it's a conversation that'll, undoubtedly continue as this technology develops and we get closer to a future where the boundaries between the physical and digital worlds become, increasingly blurred, as we kind of go deeper into this whole philosophical labyrinth of mind uploading. We just keep hitting these really intriguing questions that challenge, our understanding of consciousness and identity.
Yeah, and we've already talked about thought experiments that make us wonder whether, a digital copy of a mind is really the same as the original.
Mm-hmm.
And we've kind of grappled with the implications of a potential universal consciousness too.
Exactly. And all those discussions, they've laid the groundwork for even more of these mind-bending philosophical puzzles, ones that come up when we think about the possibility of, transferring our consciousness to a digital substrate.
Yeah. One question that I've been thinking about is, would an uploaded mind have free will? If our thoughts and actions are determined by, algorithms and computations, would we still be in control of our own destiny?
That's a big one. And it's one that philosophers have been debating forever. Even without, the added complexity of mind uploading, the nature of free will is a topic that has sparked a lot of discussion and disagreement.
So how does the concept of mind uploading, add to this debate?
Well, if our minds are essentially software, running on a computer, it kind of raises the question of whether that software is capable of genuine choice, or whether its actions are predetermined by its programming.
So it's like a digital version of that age-old question.
Yeah.
Are our lives governed by fate or free will?
Precisely. The concept of mind uploading forces us to re-examine these fundamental questions about human agency and the nature of choice.
Yeah. Another philosophical problem that comes up is the question of moral responsibility. If we create digital copies of ourselves, would those copies be morally responsible for their actions?
That's tricky. I mean, if an uploaded mind, commits a harmful act, who's to blame? The original person whose mind was copied, the digital copy itself. Or maybe the programmers who created the system.
Yeah, it sounds like a legal and ethical minefield just waiting to, explode.
It does. Oh, just like any technology that has the potential to fundamentally change, our reality, mind uploading comes with a whole bunch of ethical and philosophical challenges we're going to have to address carefully.
We also talked a little bit about digital immortality before. If we
Yeah.
can transfer our consciousness to a computer,
Mm-hmm.
would that, grant us eternal life?
The possibility of digital immortality brings up a whole bunch of philosophical questions about the meaning of life, the value of mortality, the nature of, existence itself.
Would we really be living forever? Or just existing as a simulation in a computer? Would we still have, like, the full range of human emotions and experiences?
Those are questions that we can't really answer definitively yet, but they are questions that we have to grapple with as we consider the potential ramifications of mind uploading.
Mind uploading also has the potential to, change our understanding of the relationship between the mind and the body.
Yeah, we tend to think of ourselves as embodied beings, with our minds connected to our physical forms. But if we can separate our minds from our bodies, it makes us wonder about the nature of that connection and what it means to be a person.
Would we still be human if our, consciousness was inside a machine? Would we have the same needs, desires, experiences?
Those are some really deep questions that touch on the very essence of what it means to be human.
Well, I think our deep dive into the philosophical implications of mind uploading has, maybe left us with more questions than answers.
That's often how it goes with philosophy, though. It's about exploring these big questions, mysteries of existence, the nature of reality.
Yeah, and it's clear that mind uploading is a concept that stretches the limits of our imagination and forces us to, confront some of the most fundamental questions about consciousness, identity, the human experience.
It's a journey into uncharted territory, a philosophical adventure that invites us to think about the possibilities and the challenges of a future where, the line between the physical and digital worlds gets blurry.
Well, on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into the fascinating and pretty perplexing world of mind uploading. It's the topic that will definitely continue to spark debate and inspire wonder for, I think, a long time to come.